Hey folks, Jessica here. We're in Granblue Fantasy today, and today I want to talk about Vira, specifically her 5-star uncap. This will be, I guess, a character spotlight. I say I guess because it's mostly going to focus on the 5-star uncap she just got, because Granvira's been around for a while, but I never actually did do a video on her. So I'll give you a full overview of what she's like. And if you want to see my reaction to her Fate episode, which at this point is my favorite Fate episode in all of Granblue Fantasy. It's such a good series of Fate episodes. Like, I talk about it at length in the other video. It's on the channel. You can check it out. But just if you've got Vira and you haven't uncapped her and you haven't played the Fate episode, you should. It's a great, 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 great story, especially for Vira fans. But yeah, let's jump into what she does. Okay, also, I should note, there are 7 SSR Viras and then an 8th non-SSR, an 8th SR Vira. And now there's 2 5-star Viras. So anyone who's like, oh, I don't understand, I don't think Vira's that popular, it's like, you're nuts. you're actually nuts. There's so many Viras. So, this is her new uncap art, and she does get a new sprite as well. Love it, love it. But yeah, she's light. She's her race is primal. That kind of throws some people because remember, Vira is an avatar Luminera. If you haven't played through the story, you learn that pretty early on. So Vira and Luminera, kind of the same person in a lot of ways. So Vira is effectively a primal in this version. It's a little weird. Vira is not always a primal, but right now she is a primal, so she counts as a primal, not a human for race purposes. She's defense. She is axe and spear specialty. Vira's another one of those characters where she's got so many versions. Actually, this might be just a Vira thing. She's got so many versions that her specialties change depending on which version you're talking about. Like OG Dark Vira is saber specialty, but if you look at Wind Vira, she's harp and melee specialty. And then this one's axe and spear. So Vira basically knows how to use every weapon. She's Gilgamesh. Vira's Gilgamesh. She knows how to use every weapon. But yes, let's look at her charge attack. So the big thing with her charge attack is it restores bits, which is a mechanic that she needs to operate some of her more powerful skills. So her original version was Iliad Vision, but the 5-star uncap gets her Iliad Judgment. It does more damage and still restores all bits, but the big thing is it activates Blade of Light, which is her nuke. So she'll effectively auto-nuke whenever she charge attacks, which is a pretty big deal because her nuke got significantly buffed to do a lot of damage. So let's talk about Aegis Merge, because this is kind of her signature ability, and it's Luminera's ability, so you can see like how that aligns. But when you activate it, it's going to remove all debuffs from her, and it's going to give her Aegis Merge, which is basically a heavy defensive buff. So it lasts up to 3 turns or until you run out of bits, because it's going to consume 1 bit every turn. So, like I said, Vira's mechanics really revolve around having bits. Now, what does Aegis Merge do? It gives her impregnable, and we're jumping around a little bit, impregnable barrier. So, when Aegis Merge is active, she gets a 1000% boost to defense, a 100% boost to debuff resistance, and then she receives all attacks in place of allies, including all ally attacks. It's essentially a more powerful substitute, because she can just tank freaking everything. And then she'll also get a refresh that heals for a cap of 999. Now, her 5-star version gets a better version of this. It allows an additional damage mitigation of 1,500. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but keep in mind that, let's look, does it have it here? Aegis Merge's impregnable barrier effect, the 1000% defense boost, is effectively around a 90% damage reduction. It's not a damage cut, it's an actual reduction. So it's going to function a little bit differently than damage cut. Keep that in mind, because that will matter for some fights, especially ones that try to negate damage cuts, because she can still basically tank in those. But the fact that it mitigates now 1,500 damage on top of that means you're not going to get chipped for like small pieces of damage through the Aegis Merge very often for much, if anything at all. And that's actually pretty helpful. And in addition to that, the refresh effect is now increased to 2,000 HP. So in theory, she'll actually be able to sustain even better. I mean, It's a little bit of gilding the lily in a way because she was already ultra tanky and didn't have any problem surviving. But this will make her even more so. She'll be even better at tanking and even better at sustaining while Aegis merges up. So while we're talking about bits, let's talk about her other passive, Primal Bits. So this makes it so she starts with 3 bits, and she can have a total of 6 bits. And she consumes a bit upon attacking. So effectively 1 a turn, because she'll attack every turn. When she does this, she's going to amplify damage against dark foes by 10%, and she's going to 1%, 30% boost her critical hit rate. If that nomenclature confuses you, it means 100% of the time she will get a 30% boost in her damage because of crit. That's how crit works in Granblue. It's a little bit weird. Now, at level 95, so 5-star, this gets enhanced. She starts now with 6 bits instead of 3. Is this going to make a lot of difference? Not a ton. It effectively means she could potentially Aegis merge earlier and still have full offensive capability. Because if you Aegis merge turn 1, it's not going to last a full duration because she still needs to charge attack to refill them, etc., etc., and she also consumes bits. So starting with 6 is a nice bonus, but it's not that big a deal. And then the bigger deal is that that damage buff is now, that crit buff is now 100%, 60%. So she's going to do basically 30% more from that. And then while we're down here, her extended mastery skill is a slight chance for 1 turn cut to skill cooldowns every normal attack. I mean, it's whatever. I think it's, yeah, it says right here, 5% when it's maxed out. It's not high enough to like rely upon consistently, but it's a nice to have. So speaking of things that did get significantly buffed, Blade of Light. So at level 90, so 5-star, it goes from a 7-turn cooldown to a 6-turn cooldown. But again, more importantly, it auto-casts when she charge attacks, so it's going to be going off quite often. It is an 800% light damage nuke to all foes, and it removes 1 buff. It's a Dispel, and that's pretty useful. Like, Vira, before 5-star, had a very utility-oriented kit. She was your go-to for really hard fights where you needed abilities to tank and to dispel and to just generally mitigate damage and mitigate mechanics. That's what Vira's for. She is very oriented specifically for hard fights. So at 90, it gets an additional effect. On the second cast of Blade of Light, it's going to deal more extra damage. So it's going to deal 400% bonus light damage. And then on the third cast, the bonus light damage is going to be increased to 2 hits. So, complicated way of saying it, she's just going to do more damage on the second and third cast and then every cast from then. So do remember, she casts when she charge attacks. So she's going to build this pretty quick, and then her charge attacks are going to hit really freaking hard. You'll see in the demo. And then her third skill, Divine Weapon. So this hasn't changed. This is the same as it's been before. It is a 6-turn cooldown, 1-turn duration. Grants guaranteed triple, 20% charge bar gain rate up, and then a 50% light attack up buff to Vira for 1 turn. But if she has Aegis merge up, it will affect all allies. This is pretty handy. There used to be, well, there still are strats you could do where you run Vira Aegis merging the whole team and then use a luchador to get full team triple attacks on everybody into like fairy. You can use that to charge fairy and then light fairy, and then fairy can consume all the charge bar because everyone's guaranteed to be at 100% charge bar, and give everyone several turns of guaranteed triple. Like that was definitely a valid strategy back in the day. It's kind of fallen off now as we've got more powerful tools in that, but it still works. Like if you got light fairy and you've got Grand Vira, definitely try that. It works pretty well. But yeah, this affects us the extra damage these days. Again, we've got so many powerful multi-attack rate buffers that this is less of a big deal, but it is still guaranteed triple. Never going to scoff at that. And it's still 50% light attack up, and the charge bar gain up is actually pretty helpful if you need to charge everyone's charge bar really quickly. So, her new skill for the 5-star cap at level 100 is Fated Cleaver. This is a 7-turn cooldown. And it gives her an instant charge, so it's going to fill her charge bar, and then give her charge attack reactivation. So, obviously a lot of damage, right? Because you're going to charge her up, and then she's going to be able to immediately charge attack, but then she's going to charge attack twice. But also on top of that, she's going to nuke twice. She's going to Blade of Light twice because she's charge attacking twice. It's just a ton of damage. There's not a lot else to say about it. It's pretty simple, actually. The utility aspect of it, though, is one thing that can happen with this version of Vira is because you need bits in order to Aegis merge, you can get into awkward spots where you can't Aegis merge when you need to because you don't have the bits. This lets you play around that a little bit better because you could always, like in a hard fight, just save Fated Cleaver until you needed bits, and then set yourself up to charge attack, and then you'll have bits in order to Aegis merge. Basically, this version of Vira really solves some of the clunkiness of the bits mechanic because she's just gonna be able to fix that on demand a lot easier. When I started recording this video, it was not United Fight yet, but now it is, so it gives me a chance to show off Vira in an OTK setting and an NM90 setting. I'll also do a longer full auto fight to give you an idea of what she's like in full auto. I'm going to focus on those areas rather than high difficulty fights because that's where she's gained the most ground. She was always great at high difficulty fights, and she's in fact better at that now. Any fight where you really need reliable mitigation, she's your pick. If you're looking for examples of that, there's tons of them on my channel. Like any of the hard solo fights or Prior Descendants where light is advantaged, I probably used Vira there. She still makes the most sense and fits the best in those settings. But now she's got a lot more damage output, which makes her a legitimately good pick for things like OTK, NM90, full auto, that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to focus on. So this is a team. This is my OTK team / NM90 team. This is for a 1 summon OTK. I'll use Huang Long to give full charge bar to everybody. I do have a setup I'm working on to try and 0 summon, 0 skill OTK. I'm a little bit short on damage. That setup's actually kind of hard if you never tried it. That involves using Toyin as your first character, and because she's an Eternal and gets a 10% boost, you use 2 Huanglongs, so she starts at 90 plus 10, so 100, and then she chains into Vira into third character, maybe Narmaya? I'm still a slight bit short on damage there, so I might have to, I'm tweaking things to get there, so we're not quite there yet, but that's what I'm working on. But yeah, this will be a 1 summon, which is not really that hard these days with the power level of everything. For me, at least. If you're newer, that still is pretty tricky to do, like a 1 summon OTK. So don't take that as your yardstick on where you should be. So the characters, using Vira because, well, she's awesome. She's the best, but also because we're doing a spotlight on, so of course she's here. But really, it's because she's got a lot of damage output rather quickly, and that you'll see that in a second. Kamhira is here because she charge attacks into a skill that does damage, and she can also counter, which can kind of get you there if you're right on the edge of having enough damage for an OTK. And then Rabomi because she charge attacks for an absolute shit ton of damage. Kamhira and Rabomi could be any number of other characters. Don't think that they are essential for the strat or anything. Back row is Light Silva. You can also use Nobita here, but Light Silva, Nobita is the free character that we got a while back. Light Silva's here though because Light Silva, if you chain burst with 4 characters, she will shoot and do a good chunk extra damage. So that's why she's there, a little bit more margin of error for our OTK. And then Toyin is here because she's Silva's girlfriend, so of course she's here. She wanted to be her girlfriend Silva, and who was I to stop them? Anyway, the grid is pretty optimized for an OTK setup. And then, if you're wondering, this may actually matter. I am using the charge attack damage chain on my Dark Opus weapon, rather than the stamina key, the stamina key, no, stamina pendulum. Rather than the stamina pendulum I usually have here. I might switch this back as we get into NM95 or NM100. I might actually pick up the Magna version of this and then put the key on that instead, or the chain on that instead. But that's what we've got for now, because we want all the charge attack damage possible. This is the summons we're using. If you're wondering why Hades is here just as a stat stick. I just wanted high stats, because since we're focusing on OTKs and fast kills, we're not going to have time to build crest. We're for crest summon, so like we just want as much stats as possible on turn 1. And that's basically it. Let's go bop some EX pluses and NM90s. Okay, so EX plus should be pretty simple with this team. I am just going to use the Honglong setup. You can use whatever you want. This is the team I was trying to do, the 0 button one. Just a little bit shy in damage, though. Gotta tweak a few more things. 3-character OTK is really tricky, actually, if you've never tried it before. So I'll turn charge attack animation so you see everyone's charge attacks. We will give everyone full charge bar of Honglong, and then this should be it. Nuke. Vira, similar charge attack, and then nuke, and then Robomi. Yeah, extremely healthy margin there, no problem at all. When, like, at my stage in the game, 1 button is not that big a deal. Trying to get to 0 clicks, though, or 0 skills, rather, that's the tricky bit. 0 skills, 0 summons. But we're working on it, and then we'll show NM90, because this gives Vira, because like a lot of characters can fill that role that Vira is filling there. Like, character that charge attacks for a lot and then has a skill afterwards, like an auto nuke afterwards, that's not that unusual. I think where Vira actually brings a little bit more interesting potential to the table is this setup. So this is NM90, and we're just gonna hit 4 skills. Gonna give everyone full charge bar, and then I'm gonna activate Blade of Light. Because remember, every time she uses it, she gets stronger, and up to 3 times, which we're going to get to. So now she's got charge attack reactivation. Here we go. So that's like 9 mil from her right there. That's about 10 mil, so 19 million total. Bummy should put him right on death's door, then chain burst, and then Silva's got back up the back row. If this wasn't close, but if this was close, but it's not, so there we go. That's what Vira uniquely brings now with her uncap. She's pretty helpful in that scenario. Like, you're getting quite a lot of damage from just a skill or 2 from her. And again, if you're not aware of why like those kind of optimizations matter, it's because it makes NM90 farming just basically last about that long. That's how long it takes to clear an NM90 with a proper team. So yeah, Vira, great now in quick fights. Like, absolutely excellent in quick fights, I would say. Okay, so I'm going to use this team for demoing Grand Vira in a longer full auto fight. I'm not actually going to demo Grand Vira in a high difficulty fight, because honestly, I've done that a ton on this channel. You've seen me use Grand Vira in hard fights before, if you watch any of like the hard content on this channel. That's what she's always been able to do. what 5-star really does for her uniquely is it rounds out her toolkit to make her good as an offensive character in full auto. So that's what I want to focus on here. And because of that, she's pretty charge attack focused. So I'm going to use this team, which is a bit of a weird team. I'm trying some new things out. We'll see how it goes. I'm very excited to try this out. So I'm running a Kengo build, which I actually haven't run Kengo in a while. But the reason why is Horus's Katana, Harakate. I am almost positive that's not how you say it. But this thing, Horus's Katana, is pretty good. Harakate. I'm going to go if that's how you say it. So the thing that it does is on charge attack, it gives all allies 10% boost to charge bar. So no longer any need to make an unsigned Kanashige in light. You can just use this thing instead. I was thinking about making an unsigned Kanashige, but no. I don't want to make Clash Champion weapons. So we're just going to use this thing because this thing is much better. Supplemental light allies charge attack damage, and then boost to light allies charge attack damage cap. You will immediately note that this thing is 0 stars because I just got one. I need to get more to uncap it. Don't worry about it. I will do that in the near future. It also doesn't gain any new skill from going to 5-star, so it's not that essential that I get it fully uncapped at this time. Then the rest of the grid, it's not anything too bizarre for a light grid, a primal light grid. I do have Ouroboros Prime. Give supplemental charge attack damage. I do have Certificus. Again, charge attack damage and charge attack damage cap. We are running the charge attack damage cap Pendulum on the Dark Opus weapon. Pendulum, right? Yeah, that's right. And then we're running Rungominiad for extra skill damage because Vira does do skill damage on her charge attack with Blades of Light. And then, the rest of it's self-explanatory. These are the summons. Only thing of note here is I don't have a Luo yet. Didn't want to spark him because all of the 6 Dragon Advent summons are sub-tixable, so I'm just gonna wait for a sub-tix. That's what I've done for the rest of them. So yep, no Luo, not that big a deal though for now, for our purposes anyways. And then the characters are going to be pretty interesting here. You're probably wondering about Lightria. I've actually not used Lightria before, so I'm really hyped to use her. Lightria's here. She does a few things. She does Dispel on charge attack, which is generally good. Vira does that as well, but more Dispel's helpful. But the main reason I want to use her is this Whirling Wyvern. Whirling Wyvern gives bonus charge attack specs to the team, and then also gives bonus charge bar gain, and then bonus charge bar, which we love. And then she can give general boost to the team, which we love. And then we're going to get boost to defense, and then a clarity effect, every 3 turns. All this stuff is great, plus more damage reduction. And all her cooldowns are super short, 3 turns. So she actually seems like a pretty good full auto character for a charge attack team. Never really used her, so we'll see how it goes. But excited to use her because I do like Rhea. Need a new version of Annie to go with Rhea. Anyways, Uni did a whole character spotlight on her essentially, I did a quick what she does video when I got her. Great character. The main thing that she's going to do here is Revitalize. Totally works on full auto because while it is a heal, it's not a green border skill, it's a yellow border skill, so she will use it on full auto. So it's going to give everyone 10% charge bar every single turn, plus she's going to heal every single turn, and then also cut debuff durations. So she's going to give us a lot of sustain and a lot of extra charge bar gain. And then she also activate Revitalize on charge attack, so further boosting charge bar gain and further giving sustain. Then in addition to that, we've got, of course, Vira, the showcase character here. Again, her Aegis merge is totally going to work on full auto. She's going to mitigate a lot of damage to the team. She's going to dispel. She's going to nuke. She's going to hit for a lot of damage on charge attacks. And when you're talking full auto, what you're looking for are characters that have skills that do like do something relevant for the fight that works on full auto, because the last skills won't work on full auto, and also a good amount of consistent damage output every turn from the character. And Vira brings both of those things now. And then the back row, we've got Light Silva, because she gives us extra damage on Chain Burst, though I will note, if you don't have a Light Silva, you can also use Nobita. Nobita was a free character from one of the recent events, and he has a very similar effect where it would do extra damage on Chain Burst. So do keep that in mind. If you're looking for something to fit to do the same thing Light Silva does, that's totally an option that you might have if you played any of the recent events. And Geisenborger in the back row, because he passively caps the amount of damage a light character can take, and I didn't have anything else I wanted to put in the back row, so that's what we're using. Alright, let's just jump into an avatar. Okay, let's do an avatar as I sit up in my gamer chair. Alright, so I think the only thing I'm going to do is activate Helm out for the debuff, and then just turn on full auto and let her rip. Let her rip. Actually, hang on. Let me turn on charge check animations so we can check out some of these charge check animations, because I don't use Light Vira very often, so I'm kind of curious what her charge check looks like. And yeah, Vira stuff all totally works on full auto, and she did it in the right order too. Aegis Merge and then Divine Weapon to buff the whole team. So there's 6 mil, there's 8 mil. There's 14 mil. There's another called 18.5 million damage. Not bad. Not bad turn 1 output from Vira. And keep in mind she has Aegis Merge up, so she's going to tank a lot of stuff for the team. Like, most attacks are just going to go right to her and be mitigated entirely. Nice. 6 mil. And G just giving everyone charge bar. Love Uni's charge attack. And also charge bar to everybody because revitalize triggers. And Vira's going to be full charge bar this turn to go again. Like, this team is going to just spit out charge attacks constantly. Yeah, so Vira's gonna like be dealing like 9 mil on a turn she charge attacks. And also her damage is just gonna generally be boosted because she will pretty much always have bits. Her bit uptime is gonna be like probably 100%, I would imagine. Every charge attack. All of them. This might actually fully charge Vira this turn because you're just going to give 10% because of the order, but then also Revitalize can trigger, which should give 10% again. So, in theory, Vira should be able to charge that. Yep, there it is. That is some spicy full auto damage. And then Light Silva just shooting him in the back row. But yeah, so this is going to go on for a bit. Full auto is really meant to be, you turn on full auto and then you go get a coffee or something. So it's always weird to sit and stare at a full auto going. So I'll give actually my conclusion, my thoughts and my rating for Grand Vira and my conclusions while this plays out in the background. So, the thing with Grand Vira is, she was always a good character at 4-star, but she was niche. She had a role she filled very well, and then outside of that role, you didn't really have a great reason to bring her. So I'm gonna give my ratings, but I'm also gonna give you an idea of what she was like at 4-star and what she's like now at 5-star. So, I rate on a scale of C to double S tier. C is complete garbage character, like there's not any reason to use them. They might actively be a detriment to your team when you use them. And then double S tier is a meta-defining character, and I'm trying to be pretty selective when I say someone's meta-defining. So when I say meta-defining, I mean somebody that is so clearly far and above the rest of the characters in that element that you need to run them if you have them. So like Grand Narmaya, Christmas Narmaya, just Narmaya, or characters that enable an element to behave in the way that it is known to behave. So like example there would be Summer Zoe is the biggest one for Enmity Dark. Just because like Zoe allows you to play in a very specific way for Enmity Dark, which is generally the best way to play Enmity Dark in a lot of scenarios. So like definitely meta defining characters in those regards. So those would be double S tier. So yeah, that's the scale. Let's talk about categories. It's gonna be I rate on fast fights, so like 1 turn kill to a turn or 2 at tops, and then full auto, and then high difficulty. So let's just start with fast fights. Vira used to not have anything really to offer for fast fights. I don't know if I'd say she's all, and also the caveat, I'm biased towards Vira because Vira is my favorite character, as I mentioned many times before. Vira didn't really have anything to add to a short fight before. I wouldn't say she's C tier because she's not like an active detriment in a short fight. She's not the worst in a short fight. She's still overall a fine character at 4-star, but she certainly didn't bring anything unique to the table that really helped for a quick fight. And she did provide the ability to a specific strategy, and that strategy was you could run Vira with Luchador and activate Aegis Merge and activate Weapons of Light. Divine Weapons, what am I saying? Yeah, let me turn this game, make sure I'm not blasting your ears off with full auto sounds. You could do Divine Weapon and then give everyone on the team guaranteed triple plus charge bar gain plus extra light damage. And then tag team Lucha, so get 2 rounds of guaranteed triple and bonus everybody. That would fully charge everyone's charge bar. Then you could use Light Fairy, consume all the charge bar, give everyone several turns of guaranteed triple, and just continue to go to town. So that was useful for relatively short fights. It's a lot of things to do to activate that in 2022, but back in the day, that was pretty good. So that's why I say she's B for fast fights before at 4-star. Now, because if for nothing else, the fact that she casts Blade of Light on her charge attack makes her legitimately part of my OTK team for United Fight. She is totally a legitimate character to add to an OTK team in that regard. Actually, hold on, let me turn off charge check animations. But the thing is, she's not the only character who can do that. Kampura can also nuke after charge attack. Rabomi just hits really freaking hard. Like, there's a lot of ways to fill out that OTK team. So she's not like raising the bar or anything there, but she now has a place on that team. So that's why I say she's probably A tier. 5-star Vira is A tier for quick fights. Okay, charge check animation's off now. Now, for full auto, that's where she gains the most. So back in the day, I would probably say she was A tier in full auto. She didn't add a lot offensively, but she did have a dispel that did work. And then she also added a lot of mitigation from Aegis Merge. You weren't able to time it perfectly, but it did add passively mitigation whenever it happens. And Weapons Light is still, or Divine Light. I keep on saying Weapons Light. This is not Destiny 2. Divine Weapon's the name of it. Was still fine, but the main thing she was bringing was really mitigation, the ability to just tank some hits randomly. And when you look at full auto characters, you want characters to do a lot of damage every turn, and there's by skills that work without player input and without requiring specific timing, and you want mitigation and sustain. So she only added mitigation and sustain, but she did add a lot of it, so I would say she was A before. But now the fact that she does so much damage on a charge attack with casting Blade's Light, and the fact that she's casting Blade's Light every time she charge attacks and dispelling every time, and then the fact that she's going to have bits up constantly, the fact that her damage buff is just stronger now, I would say she's S tier for full auto. Double S tier would be someone like Fidel, like Lich, like Christmas, Nenemy, like Valentine's Medusa. Characters that are just throwing huge amounts of damage every turn, in addition to helping sustain. She's not quite that level, so S tier. And then high difficulty fights. She was always good at high difficulty. She was already S tier for high difficulty. She allowed you to approach fights in a manner that you just could not without her. That has not changed. She has not diminished in that regard. She has, in fact, gotten better for high difficulty, I would say. She has the ability to dispel much more frequently now. Because normally her dispel was just Blades of Light. It's a button she could hit. You hit it, you dispel the enemy, great, but it's on a cooldown. And that's sometimes not enough. For like Lucilius HL, you'd want several characters to dispel to keep up with the number of dispels you need to do. Now the fact that she dispels every time she charge attacks, and she charge attacks very frequently, that is super helpful for keeping up with the spells. And then in addition to that, she still mitigates damage, but now she mitigates even more damage and has even more sustain, so she's gotten better there. It's not dramatically better, because she was already super good at that. It's more of a marginal improvement there. And then on top of all that, on top of her just better buffs now for damage gain, the fact that she can give herself full charge bar with the press of a button, I can't overstate how helpful that is. It might not seem like a big deal, but the thing that would happen very often is on a really hard fight, if the timing is not right, you might end up needing to Aegis merge but not have bits. And then you're screwed. Or not be able to have not have bits and not have a full charge bar in order to charge attack to get bits. So the fact that now she can just hit a button to get bits, to get a full charge bar, and get bits rather, that really cleans that aspect of her kit up. It makes it a lot more consistent. You're not going to get into that really awkward situation nearly as much anymore. It solves that problem for her. So I think being more consistent there, I would say she's probably actually double S tier for really hard fights. Like, she used to be S tier. I would say I would move her up to double S tier for high difficulty fights now. So, recap. She is A tier for fast fights. She is S tier for full auto. And she is double S tier for high difficulty. Overall, I would say she's probably... Oh, this is Avatar Super Nuke, which went to Vira because she's got Aegis merge up. She takes her team, and now we'll finish her off. So, yes. With those ratings, I would say she's probably S tier overall. I can't really make a case to say she's double S tier, because she is primarily a high difficulty character still, but she is much more rounded out now. She is definitely legitimately a character you use in full auto fights. She does have a place on an OTK team. So yeah, I would say she's S tier overall. And perfect timing. The fight is now wrapping up. I think Silva's actually going to kill this thing with... No, maybe not. Next turn. Maybe. Is this going to kill it? Alright, it's next turn. But yeah, full autoing Avatar, no problem. And, like, the fact that you can legitimately have her on this full auto team is a big deal, because usually, before this, you didn't really want to put her on a full auto team. You would get mitigation, but you just wouldn't get any damage, so it's a little bit of a harder sell before. And there goes Avatar. Nice and clean. Let's see what we got. Not that I need anything from Avatar, but we'll see what we got. Yeah, anima. Ooh, double gold anima. I'll take it. Alright. So yeah, conclusions on Vira. I think her 5-star is actually a really good improvement for her. It makes her slightly better at the things she's already good at, and then rounds her out to make her much better at things she wasn't good at. In a lot of ways, much like her story, her Fate episode story, she's become a more well-rounded, well-adjusted person in the story. She's become a more well-rounded, well-adjusted character in usage. I think it's very fitting that that's what you get from her. But yeah, Vira, my favorite character, and apparently one of the most popular characters in Granblue, because she's got fully 8 versions and 2 5-star versions now. And judging the Fate episode, it's likely she's gonna get another 5-star uncap or another version, because they did seem to heavily indicate they want to wrap up. They want Catalina and Vira's relationship to finally be acknowledged and have some closure. Like, I think Vira's 5-star uncapped Fate episode very much suggests that, like, no, the Cat of Vira story is still important to the folks at Granblue and to the community, and they want to finish that up. They might actually do it with a new version of Catalina or a new uncap for Catalina, because Vira actually, at the end of that story, and this is all on my channel if you want to see what that Fate episode was like, Vira very earnestly told Catalina directly on screen in no uncertain terms how she felt, and Catalina took that very positively. Like, she said that she really wants to protect Vira's smile, which is a very sweet, very anime thing to say. And where that story left off was literally with the feelings acknowledged. Who knows where their story will go next? And that suggests that they do want to, like, do something with that. But we'll see when that happens. It could be because the ball is in Catalina's court now, because Catalina finally you should watch the video if you haven't seen it, or you should look through the Fate episodes if you haven't seen it. But Catalina finally acknowledges Vira's feelings for her, and in a positive way. Because the frustration of Catalina and Vira has always been Vira pours her heart out for Catalina, and Catalina is about as observant as a brick. Just completely oblivious. Like anime protag levels of oblivious. But now it seems like Catalina wants to do something to like, you know, acknowledge that. So yeah, they could also do it in the main story, because if you're not caught, I mean, this was many chapters ago, but Catalina and Vira in the main story, early on, yeah, but also much later in the game as well, with the whole Eris/Albion thing that parallels them and was called back to in Vira's Fate episode in this 5-star uncap. So yeah, it's a great time to be a Vira fan. Like, her 5-star uncap, which is what this is about, generally adds a lot to her character, but the Fate episode's character development has been real positive. Anyway, I'm rambling now. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!